Lindsey Vonn was airlifted from the course after a violent crash during the final downhill race before the Olympics, a moment that immediately cast a shadow over what was supposed to be the last tune up before the biggest stage in alpine skiing. The crash happened during a World Cup downhill held in extremely difficult conditions. Visibility was poor, the course was fast, and the margins were unforgiving. Midway down the upper portion of the run, Vaughn lost control after landing a jump. What followed was a sequence that every skier fears. She was thrown offline, unable to regain balance, and slid directly into the safety nets. The impact tangled her in the fencing, bringing the race to an abrupt halt and silencing the course. Medical teams responded immediately as cameras cut away, but the seriousness of the incident was already clear. Vaughn was stabilized on the slope and airlifted off the mountain for further evaluation. For anyone who has followed Lindsey Vonn's career, the scene was hauntingly familiar. Few athletes in any sport have pushed their limits as relentlessly as Vonn. Downhill skiing is already one of the most dangerous disciplines in professional sports, combining speed, terrain, and gravity in a way that leaves almost no room for error. Vaughn built her legacy by attacking courses aggressively, trusting her instincts and her preparation even when conditions were less than ideal. That approach brought her historic success. It also brought repeated injuries. Over the course of her career, Vaughn has endured crashes that would have ended most athletes' competitive lives: torn ligaments, broken bones, surgeries, long rehabilitations, and each time she returned not cautiously but competitively. That history is why this crash carries so much weight. This wasn't just another race, it was the final downhill before the Olympics, the last opportunity to measure speed, confidence, and readiness against the world's best under race conditions. It was meant to be a checkpoint, not a crisis. Instead, it became a reminder of how fragile everything is in this sport. Downhill racing demands full commitment. Skiers launch off jumps at highway speeds, land on uneven terrain, and adjust instantly while reading a course that can change dramatically depending on weather. Low visibility makes that task exponentially harder. Depth perception disappears, shadows flatten, timing becomes guesswork. Even for a champion like Vaughn, the margin for recovery vanishes in those moments. The crash also reignited a familiar tension within alpine skiing: the balance between pushing ahead with races and protecting athletes when conditions deteriorate. World Cup events often proceed in marginal weather because schedules are tight and opportunities are limited. Athletes understand that risk is part of the job. But when visibility drops and courses become unpredictable, the consequences escalate. For Vaughn, the immediate concern is health. At the time of the crash, there were no official details released about the extent of her injuries. The decision to airlift her was precautionary but serious, standard protocol for high speed crashes with potential trauma. Further evaluations were expected to determine whether she could recover in time to compete. That uncertainty is brutal. Olympic cycles are unforgiving. 4 years of preparation can hinge on a single race, a single landing, a single miscalculation. For an athlete nearing the end of an already injury laden career, the emotional weight is even heavier. Lindsey Vonn is not just preparing for another event, she is managing legacy. She has already accomplished what few athletes ever will: Olympic medals, world championship titles, World Cup victories, records that reshaped what was thought possible in women's skiing. She has nothing left to prove, and yet she continues to race. That decision speaks to who she is as an athlete. Vaughn has always defined herself by resilience, by refusing to let injuries dictate the end of her story. Each comeback has been framed not as defiance, but as determination, a belief that she could still compete at the highest level if given the chance. This crash forces a pause in that narrative. Whether she is able to return in time for the Olympics will depend on medical assessments, recovery timelines, and difficult decisions that balance ambition with long term health. Those decisions are never simple, especially for athletes whose identities are built around competition. For the skiing world, the incident was sobering. The course fell silent. Fellow racers waited. Fans watched with unease. In moments like this, the sport strips itself of glamour and speed and reveals the risk beneath it all. Downhill skiing rewards bravery. It also punishes hesitation and miscalculation without mercy. As updates continue to emerge, the focus remains on Vaughn's condition and recovery. There is no rushing this moment, no assumptions to be made, only waiting, evaluation, and hope. If this race becomes a footnote, it will be because Vaughn recovers and competes again. If it becomes something more, it will mark a painful turning point. Either way, the crash underscores a truth that has followed Lindsey Vonn throughout her career. Her greatness has never come from avoiding risk. It has come from confronting it head on again and again, even when the cost was high. This moment, like so many before it, will test that resolve. And whether she returns to the start gate or chooses a different path forward, Lindsey Vonn's impact on alpine skiing is already secure. Her career has been defined not just by victories, but by courage in a sport that demands everything. For now, the story is unfinished. What comes next will be written not by results boards, but by recovery rooms, medical advice, and one of the most resilient competitors the sport has ever seen.